Welcome to How to Retire on Time, a show that answers your questions about all things retirement, including income, taxes, Social Security, healthcare, and more. This show is an extension of the book, How to Retire on Time, which you can grab today on Amazon or by going to www.howtoretireontime.com. My name is Mike Decker. I'm the author of the book, How to Retire on Time, but I'm also a licensed financial advisor, insurance agent, and tax professional, which means when it comes to financial topics, we can pretty much discuss it all. Now, that said, please remember this is just a show. Everything you hear should be considered informational, as in not financial advice. If you want personalized financial advice, then request Your Wealth Analysis from my team today by going to www.yourwealthanalysis.com. With me in the studio today is Mr. David Franson. Thanks for being here.
Yes, hello, thank you.
David's going to be reading your questions, and I'm going to do my best to answer them. You can send your questions in by either texting us to 913-363-1234. That's 913-363-1234, or email them to heymike@howtoretireontime.com. Let's begin.
Hey, Mike, how much do I need to save for retirement?
Couple of layers to that question. So the first one is, how much does it cost to be you? You need to understand what your spending is going to be, and your spending is probably going to be different when you retire than when you're working. Just think about it for a second. Work is kind of like your hobby. It's your pastime, except for you get paid to do it.
Yeah.
So when you have an extra 8, 9, 10 hours of the day to do something, you're probably not going to get paid to sit around. So is your hobby or your favorite pastime or what you're volunteering, is it going to cause you your expenses to increase, or is it going to be about the same?
Oh, okay.
So those are some things to consider. A lot of people, they'll remain kind of the same. Some people, they'll be exponentially greater. Few times will the cost actually go down.
All right.
Now that's different than income, right? So your income from your work may be higher, but maybe you're saving a lot of the money. You're not actually spending it all. So you need to understand not what your current income is, but what your expenses are and what they're expected to do. That makes sense so far?
Okay, what my expenses are now and then what they might be after retirement?
Yeah, it's like once you retire, get rid of savings because you don't save when you're retired.
Oh.
You're just spending at that point. You're invested or you're spending.
Yeah.
So what are your actual expenses? And multiple ways you could do that. Some exercises are like downloading the past couple of months of your bank statements and kind of going through and itemizing them. We created an app to help people have a healthier relationship with their money called Cash Flow and Capital, which is available on iPhone, soon on Android. So check that out if you want to really dive into, if you want to get in tune with your expenses. But that's the first question, is what are your expenses going to actually be? Now you take that number, okay, and then what you got to do is make it into a year. It's easier, I think, from a year standpoint.
Uh-huh.
So let's say your number is, easy math, 100,000 a year is how much you're going to, because that's the easy round number.
That's what I need for income in retirement.
That's your expenses.
Oh, those are my expenses. Okay.
That you're 100,000 in expenses, including maybe some traveling in there, just kind of a general lifestyle, your trip to Breckenridge or whatever it might be.
Sure.
Okay. So let's just say that's what it is. And for what it's worth, don't feel shameful or weird about your expenses. Everyone's expenses are so different one from the other. What makes people happy varies so greatly that how much should your expenses be? Well, I don't know. That depends on you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't compare your life to someone else's. How much does it cost to be you? What life do you want to live? Let's stop overgeneralizing what should be by other people's lives. What's yours? So let's say it happens to be 100,000.
Okay.
Okay. How much is your Social Security going to be? Because we're not just trying to take income from our assets. We're trying to get, roughly how much we have to get saved, but there's other income streams. So let's say you're going to get 30,000 from Social Security.
All right.
Okay. You and your spouse, or maybe it's just you, whatever the number is. Again, round numbers here. So 100,000 minus 30,000, we've got 70,000 left over. You with me so far?
I am. I'm following.
Okay. So we got 70,000 left over. Now let's assume that you've got some rental properties that are bringing in around, let's say 20,000 in just cash flow.
Okay.
So 70,000, 60. So we're at 50,000 now. You need 100,000 of just income coming in.
Mm-hmm.
30,000 is going to come in from Social Security. 20,000 is going to come in from your rental income.
All right.
So you need 50,000 from portfolio, 401k, just income from assets of sorts.
All right.
So you take 50,000, then you times it by 24.
Yes.
Roughly in this situation, it'd be 1.2 million.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
based on the 4% rule. The 4% rule is a great rule of thumb, but it's not a retirement plan.
Mm.
When I say rule of thumb, it's like if you're in your 30s or 40s, how much do I need to earn? Well, there's so many variables. It's really hard to gauge exactly what that would look like. But if you know kind of, this is the ballpark of where I need to be, this is a really helpful exercise.
Uh-huh.
So for this person in particular, maybe they need around 1.2 million saved up. 4% rule suggests that if your stocks average, let's say 8% year over year, and your bonds average 4% year over year, bond funds specifically, then you should be able to take out 4% year over year and be fine. Now, I've got a lot of grief against this mindset because it's based on the idea of the asset allocation, generic traditional portfolio. You got your large cap, you got your small cap, you got your emerging markets. You get all these terms that most people don't even understand what they mean, but they hear, oh, I'm diversified, so they assume it's right.
Yeah.
Well, over the last couple of years, large caps have averaged around 13% year over year, small caps around 10% year over year. And the real estate sector, if you invest in it correctly with publicly traded REITs, which aren't really that good, but it's better than nothing, are like 8% or something like that. But if you do a traditional portfolio, your average is like 6.2%. How much of a disservice have we done in saying, hey, you can retire, all is well, but we're going to put you in this very cliche portfolio based on your age, based on your alleged risk tolerance, which most people don't know how to define anyway, and put you into a very bland portfolio and grow your money at around 6.2% according to historical averages, and you'd be fine. That's why I say, look, 4% rule and this whole concept of it, and you need 1.2 million in this scenario, it's oversimplified.
Yeah.
But at least gives you an idea of where you're going.
Yeah.
Now, that said, when you're 5 years away from when you want to retire or not, you can really make some drastic changes to your savings and to your investments. And it might be that through Social Security optimization, through portfolio optimization, seeking efficiencies within there, through tax minimization, you might be able to do this off of $1 million or maybe $800,000, $900,000, something like that.
That's interesting.
You've got a lot of wiggle room because where your money is and how you've saved changes the equation drastically. So $1.2 million in pre-tax 401k is going to be very different than 1.2 million, let's say, in Roth. Let's say you've got 600,000 in the IRA versus 600,000 in the Roth. Very different situations. And maybe you're 5 years out and you think, gosh, I don't know if I'm going to make it, and no one can control the market. But what if just a subtle adjustment of you now saving more in the Roth, the after-tax part of your 401k, than the pre-tax helps bridge the gap?
Yeah.
What if we can find $7,000 a year of tax efficiency through Social Security tax optimization? See, it's not just the dollar amount. So when people say, how much do I need to save? It's like, well, hold on. Actually putting your plan together, there's a lot that needs to be considered. But if you're looking for a basic ballpark, figure out how much you need after the pension, after Social Security is accounted for, all of that, and then times that number by 24, and that's a ballpark. And if you're within that range roughly, that's when you need to see a financial professional like us at Kedrick, to where we can then break it down, seek efficiencies, and show you how you can potentially get more out of your hard-earned money instead of falling into these cliche portfolios that really are it's just laziness. How is that for a tangent?
Yeah, no, enjoyable. There's a lot of nuance, it sounds like. There's a lot of things that maybe the rest of us haven't considered. And we just get into this oversimplified, I want to know what my exact number is, and that's what I'll focus on.
Everyone knows how to run. Almost all kids run. Well, if you want to really know how to run, you don't just run faster or try to run stronger. You have to learn how to train within certain zones. You have to learn how to hydrate a certain way. You have to learn how to breathe a certain way, right? The cool thing about finance is you can actually elect the difficult part of the training to a professional. Like in fitness, at the end of the day, you've got to be the one that performs.
Yeah.
In finance, you can elect that professionalism to have someone else get more out of your money than you would have on your own. So it's one of the few industries where you can actually have someone else take care of it for you. And I think that's the cool part about finances, getting more out of your money through efficiency. It's not just taking on more risk. It's strategy. I mean, finance is really three-dimensional chess.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get that comprehensive plan, something that really dives into the multiple layers of strategic planning of efficiency, that's when your eyes start to open and you're starting to go, man, this is pretty sweet.
That's all the time we've got for the show today. If you enjoyed the show, consider subscribing to it wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for How to Retire on Time. Discover if your portfolio is built to weather flat market cycles, or if you're missing tax minimization opportunities that you may not even know exist. Explore strategies that may be able to help you lower your overall risk while potentially increasing your overall growth and lifestyle flexibility. This is not your ordinary financial analysis. Learn more about Your Wealth Analysis and what it could do for you, regardless of your age, asset, or target retirement date. Go to www.yourwealthanalysis.com today to learn more and get started.